Hello there, and welcome to this overview of the CUEPal Cue Light System. CUEPal is a wireless Cue Light system that works over Wi-Fi networks using iOS and Android devices. The system comprises of two parts, the CUEPal Console and the CUEPal Cue Light. The CUEPal Console is the controller for all of the CUEPal Cue Lights connected to the system. CUEPal Cue Light is free on all platforms, and CUEPal Console is about the price of a cup of coffee. For this overview, I'm going to connect one Cue Light to the console, but you can connect up to 8 at any one time. Firstly, let's connect a Cue Light to the console and go over the main functions. To get started, we need two devices, both connected to the same Wi-Fi network, and we need to launch both apps on separate devices. On a device with CUEPal Cue Light, we are prompted to input a name for our Cue Light so the console can identify us. Let's change it to James. But keep in mind, we can only use a name with up to 16 characters using only letters. Once we're happy with the name, we can press confirm. The Cue Light and the console now find each other automatically on the network. However, you can manually connect using the settings window accessed by the cog in the top right hand corner of the Cue Light. Once a connection is made, we can start to issue Cue Light commands. Firstly, let's issue a standby to the Cue Light. If we press the standby button on the channel the Cue Light is connected to on the console, we can issue a standby. Standby is indicated by a flashing standby button as seen on both devices. To acknowledge the standby, press the flashing standby button on the Cue Light. Acknowledged is indicated by a solid standby button. To issue a go command, we simply press the go button on the console. On the right hand side of the console is the master section. This works when we press the preset buttons on the individual channels. Pressing a preset button on a channel primes that channel and others for a master standby or go. Once we have chosen our channels we want to preset, we can, for instance, send a master standby, or we can send a master go. If we want to cancel our preset selection, we just press the master reset preset button. If we wish to reset all of the console's current state, we can hold the master reset button in the bottom right hand corner for 2 seconds. Additionally, we can save the current names, lock statuses, check-in time and used port by pressing save. Another useful feature of the CUEPal console is the lock feature. Locking a channel means only a Cue Light with the exact same name can connect to that channel. Also, it means a Cue Light cannot change its name whilst locked. Any name changes on the console will be registered at the Cue Light. Any name changes on the Cue Light will not be allowed. Sometimes it's necessary to reset a channel. If a Cue Light is no longer in use, it's handy to be able to clear that channel for use with another Cue Light. If we press the master reset IP button on the console, the lock buttons change to reset IP buttons. Once we press reset IP on one of the channels, this resets the channel ready for another Cue Light. You can switch back to lock buttons by pressing the master reset button again. When there is a connection problem, CUEPal will let you know. On the console, a green IP address means all communication is being received. If the IP address turns yellow, this means either a command is sent and an echo was not received, or the console has not received a check-in message from the Cue Light in a given amount of time. On the Cue Light, a connection problem is represented by a yellow connection icon in the bottom right-hand corner. Now we have gone over the main functions, let's take a deeper look into the settings and the extra features. On the CUEPal Console, it is possible to lock all of the channels at once using the Lock All button. Once this is pressed, or you have manually locked each channel individually, this button then becomes the Unlock All button. Moving to the settings page, here we can change some useful parameters. Firstly, at the top, the IP address of the console is displayed. This is useful when manually connecting to a Cue Light. We will cover this process in more detail shortly. Below, we have the port we're communicating on, and by default on all CUEPal apps this is 8888. This only needs to be altered if the network we are using requires it. You must change the port on all other devices to the same port if this is changed. Next, we have the remote check-in time. The CUEPal Console sends out a check-in message to the Cue Lights approximately every second. These messages are echoed back if received. The check-in time is the amount of time the CUEPal Console waits between issuing a warning from the absence of a check-in echo from a Cue Light. Below, we have the revert to defaults. Once pressed, our port and check-in time changes back to 8 seconds and 8888. Below this, we have the Reset Console button. Once pressed, gives us a confirm check. Once pressed again, this resets all the IPs and all of the channel states. Lastly, we have a help guide and information on bug reports if required. Moving over to the CUEPal Cue Light, we can navigate back to the main menu by pressing the Reset button. Here we can press the cog to get to the settings window. Here we have two parameters we can change. Firstly, we have the port we are communicating on. Again, this only needs to be changed if required by the network you are using. Secondly, we have the console IP. If you are unable to automatically connect to the console, you can input its IP here to manually connect. Below, we have the defaults button, which changes the parameters back to 8888 and auto. Let's now look at how you connect to the console manually. Firstly, I need to find the IP address of my console. This can be found in the settings window. Then I need to input this IP address into the CUEPal Cue Light's console IP box. Once this is complete, I just connect as I did before and both devices should find each other. That concludes the overview of the CUEPal Wireless Cue Light System. Check out CUEPal's website and socials for updates and have a great show.